host, and I will be going over 5 exercises that will be covering the push, pull, hinge, groundwork, and squat exercise. So first we're going to be doing a push-up here. What I want you guys to do is be in a push-up position, curl your toes in the back, and extend your legs. Make sure that your feet are shoulder width apart though, and as well as your wrists shoulder width apart. Now, when you guys are doing this movement of going down and up during a push-up, make sure that there's always an alignment between your shoulder joint and your hip joint. A way to regress this exercise is actually having your feet come in close together and putting that knee down. Toes are curled back. Always keep in mind that this is a linear movement between your shoulder joint and your hip joint. Next thing that we're going to do to progress this is have that legs extended to do this movement. A common mistake that people do is they tend to put their hips up or their hips down. A way to interact and counteract this movement and go against this is actually activating your core. Imagine there's a string in your belly button pushing to your spine. The next exercise will be a groundwork. So I want you guys to scoot those knees up in parallel with your hips. Have your hands shoulder width apart and have your toes curled back and hover off the floor. A way to regress this exercise is to do knee taps. And then a way to progress this is do toe touches, lifting up your toes, one of your toes, for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and bringing it back down. A common mistake here is that we tend to overarch our back, so I want you guys to consciously activate that core. Once again, imagining that string pulling up to your spine. The next exercise will be a squat. I want your feet shoulder width apart. Make sure a common mistake is that people's knees tend to go inward, so I want you guys to imagine that there's a ball between your legs, and your hands are going to be out when you're doing this squat. A regression from this is actually putting your hands together. And a progression from this is having a 3 slow count going down and exploding to the top. Next exercise will be a good morning. Our hands are going to be behind our head, our feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent, and we're going to be hinging on our hips, pushing back, and coming back up. Now, a regression for this is actually having our knees come together and keep our hands back, toes are curled, and imagine pushing that closed door. Pushing our hips, moving our hips back to close the door. Common mistake is that we tend to overarch our shoulders, so imagine having a $100 bill in the middle of your back to retract and move that. Progression, once again, is that slow count of going 3 seconds down and 1 second up. The next exercise, we will be needing dumbbells. We're going to be doing a bent over row. I want your feet shoulder width apart, slightly bent, your hips hinging back at a 45-degree angle, and our position, our hands are going to be in a pronated position to do this movement. A regression from this is actually being in a neutral position for our hands, and then a progression is actually having our hands supinated like this. Now, common mistake here is that people tend to overarch our back. Once again, think about that $100 bill and get to work, you guys. Good job.